Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Ray and I am going to read to you the Holy Bible, one chapter at a time. So go ahead and pop in your earbuds or put on your headphones or just turn me up in your car and let's get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are so very welcome. I'm glad you're back. And if this is your first time, I'm glad you're here. So today I'm going to be reading from the book of Genesis, continuing on in that series. We're on chapter 8, and I'm reading from the English Standard Version, okay? So if you're ready, go ahead and turn me up. Okay, chapter 8. But God remembered Noah. That's saying something, isn't it? And all the beasts and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind blow over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens were restrained, and the waters receded from the earth continually. At the end of 150 days, the waters had abated. And in the 7th month, on the 7th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made and sent forth a raven. It went to and from until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to rest her foot, and she returned to him to the ark, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her and brought her into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days and sent forth the dove, and she did not return to him any more. In the 601st year of the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were dried from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried out. Then God said to Noah, "Go out from the ark, you and your wife, and your sons and your sons' wives with you, and bring out with you everything that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out by families from the ark. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, "I will never again curse the ground because of man. For the intentions of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, night and day shall not cease. Now, that's chapter 8. But before we move on, I have a couple notes, a couple things I want to talk about. First thing is this. I want to go back to verse 1. I want to show you this. So I have this Bible. It's a journaling Bible, and I get to write and make all kinds of notes and highlight. And there were some notes I wanted to share with you guys. So the first thing I want to talk about is verse 1. But God remembered Noah. Now, in chapter 7, the flood is happening. The waters are prevailing. And I'm imagining that in my head. Like, what does that look like? Because I remember that this is God causing this flood out of anger, out of disappointment. He had regret in his heart. So I imagine God being in a zone when he caused the waters to prevail and increase. I imagine that he's so focused on his goal to wipe out everything that has the breath of life from the face of the ground. And the reason why is because I think about the waters not being calm or just, they're not just rising up. I'm thinking the waters is raging and rolling. When you think of see a tsunami in a disaster movie, or you hear on the news all the time the destructions of the hurricane, and you see the aftermath of what it does. And I imagine that what we see that's just naturally happening, hurricanes, tsunamis, I imagine that what's naturally happening, and then what we also see in fiction and movies and stuff, is only like just a small little thing that happens to the water. I imagine God being angry and focused and determined being 1,000 times worse. When we see a tsunami, you see that water rushing in and wiping down and knocking down everything that it lays hold to. Everything is toppled down. Everything's rolling under. You can't stand. You can't swim. I don't care who you are. You are not surviving this. And so I just imagine when he says that, when the scripture says that the waters are prevailing and increasing, I'm imagining that it is doing exactly what he caused it to do. That is increasing, but it's prevailing in wiping everything out. Any buildings, any trees, anything, everything. I'm just imagining this coming from a God that created heaven and earth and everything in between, and everyone on it and under it. And I'm just thinking, like, this is the great I am who is angry. Angry. Have you ever been focused on something or someone? Forget that question. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. But let's use fiction. It's easier to use fiction. Remember the movie Terminator? Terminator had a goal, and the goal was Sarah, to keep her from having John. Remember, because John was a threat. And he was the head of what? The resistance? If you didn't see the movie, go watch it. You'll see what I'm saying. The very first one. That Terminator was so focused on Sarah. Nothing could stop. Bullets couldn't stop it. They were shooting big bullets inside of it. They blew it up. It caught fire and burnt all the skin off of it. Then it was just the machine coming after. Then it came into that warehouse place with all those machines on it, inside of it, running and operating. Then they smushed it. They squashed it, they destroyed it. But then what happened? When the arm came off, the arm was still so focused on Sarah, the arm was able to still come for her, right? And so I imagine God's anger and wrath causing and prevailing a water, the sea, to just raise and rage and just destroy everything. But then here is the thing that just resonates so much with me, the thing that just gets me, the thing that just gives me hope, the thing that just snatches me from my heart, the thing that just really ministers to me is this part. But God remembered Noah. Don't you want him on your side? Don't you? Of course you do. I definitely want him on my side. I definitely want him on my side. Because I imagine that while those waters is raging, I don't think that Noah and his family and all them animals is inside that ark. Have you been on the boat? And another boat come past and there's a wave. Now we're talking about raging, angry waters that are that God is causing to destroy everything on the face of the earth that has breath in its lungs. Everything. Can you imagine the height of the waves? The waters prevailed over the mountains. So yeah, in my mind, I'm thinking, I want to be on the side that God's on. I want him to remember me like he remembered Noah. Because you got to remember. You imagine this. When Noah and those animals and his family was in that boat was not being still. That boat was probably, I just can't even imagine what it was looking like inside there. And I'm sure they were afraid. I'm sure they were just petrified. But they had to have some kind of faith and some kind of trust in the process, right? I mean, I'm sure their faith went up and down. Just probably every time they got thrown up and down in that boat, I bet you their faith did the same thing. But can you imagine when it stops? Because God remembered you. Because in that boat, there was a moment where Noah, I'm sure, someone in that boat said, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. And then it ceased because he remembered you. That is a perfect example of his grace is sufficient. His mercies endures forever. So let's skip ahead to verse 21. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man. Noah is Noah is presenting God with a burnt offering on an altar, right? Can you imagine the gratitude he had coming out that boat? Can you imagine that he probably came out and said, you can have it all. I surrender whatever thoughts or doubt I ever had. They're gone. They're gone. I will never do it again. I will never doubt you again. I will never question this plan again. I will never even have a conversation with someone who tries to put doubt in my head about anything, because I already know that the God that I serve will cause hell to break out all around me, and I never be marked by or touched or even bruised by it. It will never touch me. Because if I'm doing what he tells me to do and I line up with him, he's going to remember me. With everything going crazy, I don't want to get in that boat. I'm being honest with you today. I don't want to get in that boat. I don't want to have to go through that. I don't want to have to go through a flood experience to be grateful. I don't want to have to go through a flood experience to be obedient. I don't want to have to go through that type of experience in order to pick up my cross and follow Christ. I don't want to do that. I don't want to force God's hand. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to force his hand. So, because I know things are going to happen. And as they happen, I want him to remember me. And I hope he remember you too. Yes. And that's it, folks. Chapter 8. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, you be blessed and be a blessing. Mwah.